Hello and welcome to the tutorial for Zuno the baby dragon. We're going to begin by crocheting his head, so grab your purple yarn and your hook and let's get started. The first round has already been made for you, so gently pull it out from the center and let's take a closer look at everything. Arrange it so that this loop is on the right hand side. This is where we're going to insert our hook. We want to tighten it so it fits nicely around our hook, not too loose, not too tight. If you're confused about how to hold your yarn, there are many ways to hold it to help you keep a nice tension. You can wrap it around your pointer finger a couple times, or my favorite way is to bring it up between my pointer and middle fingers, then gently hold the loose yarn against my palm with my ring and pinky fingers. The main thing is that you feel comfortable, so don't overthink it too much. Now let's look at this first round and figure out what everything is. The first round is made out of 6 single crochets, which we'll call stitches, and the top of them are these little V's. Starting from where our hook is, that's 6, 5, 4, and this stitch marker is the third. This is the second, and this is the first single crochet. So our first round is basically done. To finish every round, we're going to insert our hook into the first stitch of the round and make a slip stitch. So remove the stitch marker from the first one. Then insert your hook under both of these loops of the stitch. And when you're ready, you're going to yarn over, which means to place the yarn on top of the hook, then pull it back through the stitch. And you should now have 2 loops on your hook. To finish making the slip stitch, all you need to do is pull the first loop through the second loop on your hook. And that's our slip stitch done. Now we're going to chain 1 to get ready for the next round. To make a chain, you need to yarn over and then pull it through the loop on your hook. And that's it. And now we're ready to begin round 2. For round 2, we're going to increase in every stitch around. Increasing means making 2 single crochets in the same stitch. We're going to make the first increase in the stitch we just made a slip stitch into. So insert your hook into the same spot, then yarn over and pull it back through the stitch. You should now have 2 loops on your hook. To finish the single crochet, yarn over again and pull it through both loops on your hook. That's our first single crochet. To help you keep track of the beginning, grab your stitch marker and insert it into the single crochet that we just made. Just insert it under both loops of the little V. And now we need to make 1 more single crochet in the same stitch. So insert your hook, yarn over, and pull the loop back through the stitch. Yarn over and pull through both loops. And now we've made the first increase. We're going to repeat that 5 more times now, making an increase into every stitch. So when you're ready, remove the stitch marker from the next one and make 2 single crochets in it. Insert your hook, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through both loops. A little tip is to let your hook do all of the work for you. When you've made your single crochet, avoid pulling or tugging the working yarn. This is going to make the stitch really tight and it'll be harder to insert your hook into it later. Just let the hook do all of the work for you. And now make another single crochet in this stitch. Continue making an increase in every stitch and I'll meet you at the end. I'm going to speed this up, but you can adjust the speed in the settings below to slow it down if you need to. I just finished making my last increase. You should have made 12 single crochets. So quickly count and make sure that you didn't miss any or make any extra. If you have extra, then you may have worked into the slip stitch, which we don't want to do. We're always going to ignore the slip stitch in chain 1. We'll only be working into the single crochets. Once you're done, we're going to finish the round with a slip stitch in chain 1. So remove the stitch marker from the first single crochet, then insert your hook into that stitch and make a slip stitch. yarn over and pull it through, then pull it through the loop on your hook. And now chain 1, yarn over and pull it through the loop on your hook. Great job, everyone. Now it's time for round 3. For this round, we're going to single crochet in the first one, increase in the next, then single crochet, then increase, repeated over and over until we reach the end. So let's go ahead and insert our hook into the first stitch where we work the slip stitch and make a single crochet. Don't forget to place your stitch marker in there so we don't lose track of the beginning. And now we're going to increase in the next stitch. So make the first single crochet, and then insert your hook in there again and make the second single crochet. Now make 1 single crochet in the next stitch, and again increase in the next. I'm going to speed it up now, but feel free to slow it down if you need to, and I'll meet you at the end of the round. So I'm working into the final stitch now, which is going to be an increase. And as always, we're going to ignore the slip stitch and chain 1. Once you're done, do a quick little count of your round to make sure you have 18 single crochets. And we're going to remove the stitch marker from the first one and make a slip stitch in it. And then chain 1 to get ready for the next round. For rounds 4, 5, and 6, so 3 rounds total, all we're doing is working 1 single crochet into every stitch around. I'll get this one started with you, and then I'll show you how each round looks at the end. Let's make our first single crochet. Pop your stitch marker in there, and continue working a single crochet in every stitch, and I'll see you at the end. This is the end of round 4. Here's how round 5 looks. And the final one, round 6. Round 7, we're going to single crochet in the first stitch, and then we're going to do a decrease in the next, which means we're going to turn 2 stitches into 1. So let's make our first single crochet, and then we'll learn how to decrease. For the decrease, instead of inserting our hook under both loops, we're going to insert it under only the front loop, the loop that's closer to you. And then we're going to insert our hook into the front loop of the next stitch. Now you can yarn over and pull it back through both of the loops. And then just finish the single crochet as normal. Yarn over again and pull through both loops on your hook. Now make 1 single crochet in the next stitch. And if you're confused about which one is the next stitch after the decrease, it's the one that's completely untouched, and you can see both loops of it very clearly. And now it's time to do another decrease. Insert your hook under the front loop of the first one, then insert your hook under the front loop of the next one, and finish as normal. Yarn over and pull it through. Yarn over and pull through both loops. I'm going to speed it up now, but go ahead and repeat this 4 more times, and then I'll meet you at the end. So you should now have 12 single crochets, and as always, you need to slip stitch to the first and chain 1. Great job, guys. Now we're going to insert the eyes. So take your stitch marker and place it in the loop on your hook. We're doing this so that our project doesn't accidentally unravel. You should have 2 eyes and 2 backings for them. So first we want to position the head so that this seam, all these little dashes from our slip stitches, is positioned in the middle in the back. We're going to use this to help center the eyes. Once you have that lined up, grab one of the eyes and we need to find rounds 4 and 5. So start at the circle at the top. That's row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to insert our eyes between these rows. We want to have them spaced out about 3 stitches apart, 3 of these little V's. So insert your first eye right between the rows and right between the stitches, and then grab your second eye and count 3 stitches. Make sure you can clearly see 3 stitches visible and adjust as necessary. And now just give it a look over, look from all angles and make sure that they're centered properly. And once you're happy with them, take one of the backings and place it on the back. You should feel it kind of click into place. And once you're done, you can place the backing on the other eye. And here's how it's looking now. Super cute, but before we move on, we need to stuff the head. So grab your stuffing and we're gonna firmly stuff the head. Start by placing it at the bottom and then try and line the walls before placing the stuffing in the middle. Check it out from all angles to see if there are any spots that look deflated and stuff accordingly. You also don't want to put too much stuffing in it because it can cause your stitches to stretch out and show the inside. Once you're happy with it, do a little squeeze test just to make sure it keeps its shape, and then we'll do the last round. Round 8. To finish the head, all we're going to do is decrease, decrease, decrease all the way around. So insert your hook into the front loop of the first stitch, and then insert your hook under the front loop of the next stitch. Yarn over and pull it back through. Yarn over and pull through both loops. Place your stitch marker in there and then continue by making 5 more decreases. I'll speed it up and I'll meet you at the end to finish it up. Great job! You should now have 6 stitches, and when you're done, finish with a slip stitch and chain 1 as always, and then we're going to fasten off. So grab your scissors and we want to cut the yarn, leaving a long tail that we're going to use to close this hole as well as sew this to the body later. Perfect, and now use your hook to pull the yarn up and through the chain 1, and then give the yarn a little tug to tighten and secure the knot. Now grab your tapestry needle and thread the end of the yarn through it. I like to put the end next to the hole and use my finger to kind of rub it through. To close the hole, we're going to insert our needle into the front loop of all 6 stitches. So find the first stitch. You might have to kind of shimmy the knot to the side to find it. Then insert it under the front loop only, going from the outside to the inside or away from you. And that's our first one done. Now insert your needle under the front loop of the next one. That's the second one done, and keep going through all 6. There's 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now's the fun part. Pull the yarn, and like magic, the hole is going to tighten and close up. Great job, everyone. And now to finish this, all we're going to do is insert our needle down into a nearby stitch and back out on the other side of the circle. And that's all we're doing. We're going to leave this tail to attach the head to the body later. So set this aside, and next we'll crochet the body. This is going to be very similar to the head, so keep your purple yarn out and let's get started. We need to begin by making a magic ring. I'm going to show you my favorite way to make one, but if you're an advanced crocheter, then feel free to make it the traditional way. Take the yarn with your right hand and you want to bring it up between your pointer and middle fingers of your left hand and drape it over your pointer finger. And then use your ring and pinky fingers to hold the working yarn against your palm. Now pinch the tail of the yarn with your middle finger and thumb. Now take the tail and make a loop that goes under the point that you're pinching and re-pinch it. Just like that. And this is our magic ring. Now take your hook and insert it into the ring with your hook facing down. Grab the yarn and bring it through the ring, then twist the hook towards you and up. And chain 1. Great job. Now we're going to make 6 single crochets into the ring. Insert your hook, yarn over and pull it through, yarn over again and pull through both. And don't forget your stitch marker. And now make 5 more single crochets. Once you've made 6 single crochets, then you can pull the tail to close the ring. And as always, to finish a round, we need to slip stitch to the first one and chain 1. Just like before, we're going to increase, increase, increase all the way around. Make 2 single crochets into every stitch. There's my first increase. Now make 5 more increases. Great job. You should now have 12 stitches, and as always, we're going to finish with a slip stitch and chain 1. For round 3, all we're going to do is single crochet, single crochet, single crochet all the way around. Easy peasy. I'm going to speed this up, but just make 1 single crochet in every stitch. Finish with the slip stitch and chain 1, and I'll meet you for round 4. Great job. Make sure you still have 12 single crochets, and then we'll move on. Now for round 4, we're going to single crochet, increase all the way around. So let's make the first single crochet. Perfect, and now let's increase in the next one. Great job. Now repeat that 5 more times and I'll meet you at the end. You should have 18 stitches when you're done and finish with the slip stitch and chain 1. Now for rounds 5, 6, and 7, so 3 rounds total, all we're going to do is single crochet, single crochet, single crochet all the way around. Super easy. I'll do it off camera and check back in with you at the end of every round so you can compare yours to mine. Here's round 5. Round 6. And finally, round 7. Now for round 8, we're going to single crochet, decrease, single crochet, decrease all the way around. So let's make the first single crochet. Perfect, and now let's decrease. Insert your hook into the front loop of the first stitch, then insert your hook into the front loop of the next one, yarn over and pull it through, yarn over and pull through both loops. And now continue making a single crochet and decrease 5 more times, and I'll meet you at the end. Awesome, so you should have 12 stitches now, and when you're ready, make your slip stitch and chain 1. And now we're gonna stuff the body. So place the stitch marker on the loop where your hook is so that it doesn't unravel, and then just stuff it the same way we stuff the head. Easy peasy. When you're done, I'll meet you to make the final round. Round 9, our last round. All we're gonna do is decrease, decrease, decrease all the way around. So let's make the first decrease. Great job, and now make 6 more decreases and I'll meet you at the end. You should now have 6 stitches, and we'll finish with the slip stitch and chain 1 as always. And now grab your scissors and we're gonna cut the yarn. We need a long enough tail to close up this hole, and then use your hook to pull it up through the chain 1 and give it a tug. Then grab your tapestry needle and we're gonna close this the same way we closed the head. We need to insert the needle through the front loop of all 6 stitches just like before. And there we go. Now pull the yarn to tighten the hole. Perfect. And now we're going to hide this yarn inside of the body. Now insert your needle into a nearby stitch and bring it back out through another part of the body. It can be the top, side, bottom, it really doesn't matter. You just want it to go through some fluff, which is going to help secure it. Do that a few more times, inserting your needle into the same space it came out of and bringing it out through an opposite side. Great job. Once you've done it a few times, then you can cut the excess and use your hook or needle to bring it back into the project and hide it away. You did it! Fantastic job, everyone! This is a great stopping point to take a break and rest your hands. And in the next part, we'll make all of the different body parts. Now we're going to make his tail. Keep your purple yarn out and let's get started. We need to begin by making a magic ring again. So bring the tail up through your pointer and middle. Hold the working yarn against your palm with your ring finger and pinky. Pinch the tail with your middle finger and thumb, and then make a loop with the tail that goes under the point you were pinching and re-pinch it. Now insert your hook face down and bring the yarn through the ring, twisting towards you and up, and chain 1. Now we want to make 3 single crochets into the ring. Place your stitch marker on there if you need it. Once you've made 3, then you can pull the tail and close the ring. And as always, we're going to slip stitch to the first and chain 1 to get ready for the next round. But obviously these stitches are pretty far apart, so insert your hook into the first stitch. Then pull the yarn tight to help bring the stitches together. Then you can yarn over and finish the slip stitch as normal. Great job. Then we'll chain 1 and we'll start the next round. For round 2, we're going to increase in every stitch around. So make your first increase. Then your second increase. And now make your last increase. You should now have 6 stitches. When you're done, then slip stitch to the first one and chain 1. Make sure your work is flipped the right way out. Your magic ringtail should be tucked away on the inside of your work. Round 3, we're going to single crochet in the first stitch, then increase. Single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase. Easy peasy. I'm going to speed it up and then I'll meet you at the end. Count and make sure that you have 9 stitches and then finish with a slip stitch and chain 1. Now for rounds 4 and 5, so 2 rounds total, all we're going to do is make 1 single crochet in every stitch around. So I'll show you how it looks after each round, but you've probably got the hang of it by now, so I won't bore you. Just 1 single crochet in every stitch for 2 rounds. Here's round 4. And here's round 5. Great job. So make sure that you still have 9 stitches and then we'll get started on the next round. Round 6, we're going to single crochet, increase. Single crochet, increase. Single crochet, increase. So I'm going to speed this up, but don't forget that you can slow it down below if you need to. And I just finished making my last increase. You should now have 12 stitches, and when you're done, make your slip stitch and chain 1, and then we'll fasten off. You want to cut the yarn and leave a long tail that we'll use to sew the tail onto the body later. Then just pull it up and through the chain 1, give the yarn a little tug to tighten the knot, and now you can set this aside and we'll get started on the next part. Now we're going to make the legs, and we're still using the purple yarn, so let's do it. We need to begin by making a magic ring again, so bring the tail up through your pointer and middle, hold the working yarn against your palm, pinch the tail with your middle finger and thumb, and then make a loop with the tail that goes under the point you were pinching and repinch it. Now insert your hook face down and bring the yarn through the ring, twisting towards you and up, and chain 1. Now we want to make 5 single crochets into the ring. And don't forget your stitch marker. Once you've made 5, then you can pull the tail and close the ring, and as always, slip stitch to the first and chain 1 to get ready for the next round. Now for round 2, we're going to single crochet in every stitch around, but only in the back loop, the loop that's farther away from you. So wiggle your hook into the back loop of the first stitch and make a single crochet. Don't forget your stitch marker. Continue making a single crochet in every back loop and I'll meet you at the end. Great job! You should still have 5 stitches and finish with a slip stitch and chain 1. And now we've made the bottom of the foot. Now for round 3, we're going to single crochet in the first stitch, so go ahead and do that. Don't forget your stitch marker. Now we're going to make a decrease. So insert your hook into the front loops of the next 2 stitches. Yarn over and pull it through. Then yarn over again and pull through both loops. And now in the last 2 stitches, we're going to increase in both. So go ahead and make the first increase. Great job, and now increase in the next stitch. You should now have 6 stitches. Once you're done, as always, finish with the slip stitch and chain 1. Now for rounds 4 and 5, so 2 rounds total, all we're going to do is make a single crochet in every stitch around. So I'll show you how it looks at the end of each one, but easy peasy. Here's round 4. And here's round 5. Do a quick count and make sure you still have 6 stitches, and then you can slip stitch to the first, chain 1, and fasten off. Again, leave a long tail, and we're going to use that later to sew this onto the body. Now go ahead and make one more leg, and then we'll move on to the next part. We're going to keep going with the purple yarn, and we're going to make the arms now. We need to begin by making a magic ring again. Bring your tail up through your pointer and middle. Hold the working yarn against your palm. Pinch the tail with your middle finger and thumb. Then make a loop with the tail that goes under the point you were pinching and re-pinch it. Now insert your hook face down and bring the yarn through the ring, twisting towards you and up, and chain 1. Now we want to make 4 single crochets into the ring. Don't forget to put the stitch marker on the first one. Once you've made the 4, then you can pull the tail and close the ring. And as always, we're going to slip stitch and chain 1, but these stitches are pretty far apart. So once you've inserted your hook into the first stitch, pull the yarn nice and tight to bring them closer together. And then finish the slip stitch as normal and chain 1. Round 2. We're going to single crochet, increase, single crochet, increase. Super easy. I'll speed up through this and meet you for the next round. At the end, you should have made 6 stitches. Now for rounds 3, 4, and 5, so 3 rounds total, all we're going to do is single crochet in every stitch around. So I'll show you how it looks at the end of each round and meet you to finish it up. Here's round 3. Here's round 4. And here's round 5. Make sure you still have 6 stitches, then slip stitch to the first, chain 1, and fasten off. And again, we want to leave a nice long tail that we're going to use to sew the arm onto the body. Great job, everyone. Make one more arm, and then we'll start the next part. Now we're going to make his snout, so keep your purple yarn out, and let's get started. To begin, we need to make a slip knot. So take the end of the yarn in your right hand and leave a bit of a tail. Now wrap it around the pointer finger of your left hand and make a little loop. Slide the loop off your finger and take the tail and bring it to the back like it's splitting the loop in half. Bring the tail through the loop while holding the tail in working yarn until it tightens. And you have your slip knot. Now you can insert your hook and gently tighten it until it fits nicely around your hook without being too tight. When you're ready, we're going to chain 4. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to be working into the back bumps of the chain, so turn it over and find all of those little dashes. Skip the first chain and insert the hook into the second back bump. And when you're ready, make 1 single crochet. Perfect, and now place a stitch marker in there. Then grab another stitch marker and we're going to place it in the part of the chain that we didn't work into, the third little V on the bottom. We're going to be working into both sides of the chain later, and this one can be tricky to find if we don't mark it now. Now we want to make 1 single crochet in the next back bump. Now we're going to work 3 single crochets in this last chain. We'll make 2 in the back bump and 1 on the other side of the chain. So insert your hook into the back bump and make your first single crochet. Perfect, and then reinsert your hook in there, and before you finish it, take the tail and bring it to the side just to get it out of the way. And now finish making the second single crochet. Now turn your work and we're going to start working on the other side of the chain. Insert your hook into this V on the bottom and make your third single crochet. Perfect. Now make 1 single crochet in the next chain. And now we're going to make 2 single crochets in the chain where we placed the stitch marker. I'm going to leave mine in there just to help me see it, but you can remove it now if you'd like. When you're ready, make one more single crochet in that same spot. Great job! Now make sure you have 8 single crochets, and once you're done, you can slip stitch to the first one and chain 1. Now we're going to make one more round, and we're going to single crochet, single crochet, single crochet in every stitch around. Easy peasy. I'm going to speed it up, but that's all you're doing. One single crochet in every stitch. You should still have 8 stitches at the end, and when you're done, slip stitch to the first and chain 1, and then we'll fasten off. Great job, everyone! We want to cut the yarn, leaving a nice long tail that we'll use to sew this snout onto the face later. Great job, everyone! You can set this aside now, and we'll move on to the next part. This is the last thing that we're making in this part, and we're going to make his cute little purple ears. To begin, we need to make a slip knot. So make the little loop on your pointer finger, slide it off, and then take the tail and bring it to the back. Then bring the tail through the loop until it tightens, and now you have your slip knot. Now you can insert your hook and gently tighten until it fits comfortably around your hook. Now we're going to chain 4. Great job! This ear is super easy. It's only 1 row, and we're going to be working into the back bumps again, so turn it over. We're going to skip the first chain and then work 1 single crochet into each of the next 3 chains. So go ahead and do that. Great job! Now chain 1 and we'll fasten off. You don't need a crazy long tail, but cut it fairly long so that we can shape this into an ear and attach it to the head. Once you're done, use your hook to pull the tail up and through the chain 1, then give it a tug to secure it. Now grab your tapestry needle and we'll shape this into an ear. Start by threading the yarn through the needle, whichever end is longer, and this is going to be super easy. We're going to insert the needle into the 4th chain, the one that we didn't work into. So you can see these V's here. Count and find the 4th one. It'll be right on top. We're going to insert it under both loops, going from the back to the front. Pull it all the way through, nice and tight. And now we can see there's a little something happening here. To finish this, we're going to insert the needle into the space above our other end, right above the knot, going from the inside of the ear to the outside of it. Pull that nice and tight, and there's the ear. Repeat all of these steps and make 1 more ear, and then in the next part, we're going to finish all of the crocheting. So take a pause here if you'd like, and I'll see you over there. Now we're going to make our final purple thing, the main part / outer wings. So let's get started. To begin, we need to make a slip knot. So take the end of the yarn in your right hand and leave a bit of a tail. Now wrap it around your pointer finger of your left hand and make a loop. Slide the loop off your finger and take the tail and bring it to the back like it's splitting the loop in half. Bring the tail through the loop while holding the tail and working yarn until it tightens and you have your slip knot. Now you can insert your hook and gently tighten until it fits nicely around your hook without being too tight. Now we need to chain 9, so go ahead and do that. We're going to be working into the back bumps again, so turn your chain over and find the little dashes. We're going to learn a lot of different stitches during this, so we'll go slowly, stitch by stitch. We're going to skip the first chain and work a slip stitch into the back bump of the second chain from our hook. And now we're going to make a half double crochet decrease using these next two chains. So start by yarning over, and then insert your hook into the next chain, yarn over and pull it through. You should now have 3 loops on your hook. Insert the hook into the next chain, yarn over and pull it through. You should now have 4 loops on your hook. We're going to finish this by pulling the first one through these 3. And that's our half double crochet decrease. Good job. Now we're going to make a double crochet decrease using these next 2 chains. Start by yarning over, then insert your hook into the next chain, yarn over and pull it through. You should now have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through 2. Don't pull it through the last loop. Now we're going to do that again in the next stitch. Yarn over first, insert your hook into the next chain, yarn over and pull it through. You should now have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through 2. You should now have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over one more time and pull through all 3 loops. Great job. Now we're going to make another half double crochet decrease using the next 2 chains. So begin by yarning over, then insert the hook into the next chain, yarn over and pull it through. Insert your hook into the next chain, yarn over and pull it through. Then pull it through the 3 loops on your hook. The hard part is over. Great job, everyone. Finish this row by making a slip stitch in the very last chain. Count and make sure that you've made 5 stitches. Then you can chain 1 and turn your work. Row 2, the final row, and it's much, much easier. All we're going to do is work a single crochet in the back loop only of each stitch. So ignore the chain and insert your hook into the back loop of the first stitch and make a single crochet. Do that 4 more times and I'll meet you at the end. Once you're done, make sure that you've made 5 single crochets, and then you can chain 1 and we'll fasten off. Leave a nice long tail, and we're going to use that for sewing the inner part of the wing as well as attaching the wing to the body. So nice and long. Then pull it through the chain 1 and give it a tug to make sure the knot is secure. Great job. Now repeat all of that and make 1 more wing, and then we'll move on to the next part. Now we're going to make the inner part of the wings. So grab your yellow yarn and let's get started. We need to start by making a slip knot. So make the little loop on your finger, slide it off and bring the tail behind it and pull it through. Then insert your hook, and now we're going to chain 5. And we're going to be working into the back bumps again, so turn your chain over. This is only going to be 1 row. Skip the first chain and make a slip stitch in the second chain. Now we're going to half double crochet decrease. Start by yarning over, then insert your hook into the next stitch, yarn over and pull it through, then insert your hook into the next chain, yarn over and pull it through, and then pull it through all 3 loops on your hook. Great job! Now make a slip stitch in the very last chain. And finish by chaining one and we'll fasten off. Don't worry about leaving a super long tail. We're just going to be hiding it later. So cut the yarn and then pull it through and tug the yarn to secure the knot. Easy peasy, right? Follow these steps to make one more wing and then we'll start the next part. Now we're going to make the little horns. So keep your yellow yarn ready and let's get started. We need to start with a slip knot again. Then when you're ready, chain 3. There we go. And we are going to be working into the back bumps again, so go ahead and turn your chain over. We're going to skip the first chain and make a slip stitch in the second. And now let's learn how to make a half double crochet. Start by yarning over, then insert your hook into the last chain, yarn over and pull it through. You should now have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over one more time and pull it through all 3 loops. You should just have 2 stitches, and when you're done, chain 1 and we'll fasten off. Just like the ears, we don't need a crazy long tail, just long enough to sew the sides together to make a little cone shape and then attach it to the head. Now grab your tapestry needle and we'll sew the sides of it together. Looking at the side where we just cut the yarn, you should see 3 V's. One from the knot, and then one above the half double crochet and one above the slip stitch. Insert your needle into the V above the half double crochet, and then insert it into the V on the other side, which is on the bottom of the chain. And pull it all the way through. Now insert your needle into the V right above where our yarn is coming out of, and then insert it into the V on the other side, right above the slip stitch, and pull it all the way through when you're ready. And now we want to bring the yarn back down to the bottom. You should see some lines of yarn that are going sideways on the top and bottom. Insert your needle into those and pull it through so that way both of our yarn ends are next to each other. And then you might have to kind of stretch it and loosen it to reshape it a bit. But there's the horn. Great job, everyone. Now repeat all of those steps and make one more horn, and then we'll start the next part. Now we're going to make the little belly patch. This is the last yellow part and the last thing we need to crochet. We need to start by making a slip knot. Now chain 3. And we're going to be working into the back bumps again, so turn your chain over. Alrighty, so for row 1, we're going to skip the first chain and increase in the next and increase again in the last chain. So let's make our first increase. Don't forget your stitch marker. Great job. Now increase again in the next chain. You should now have 4 stitches. When you're done, you can chain 1 and turn your work. For rows 2 and 3, so 2 rows total, all we're going to do is make a single crochet in each stitch. So let's make our first single crochet. Perfect, and don't forget to put another stitch marker in this one. Make 3 more single crochets and I'll meet you at the end. Awesome! Once you're done, chain 1 and turn your work. Now repeat the previous row. Just make 1 single crochet in each stitch. Easy peasy. Once you're done, chain 1 and turn your work. Row 4, we're going to decrease and decrease. We'll make our single crochet decreases a little differently from before, so insert your hook into the first stitch and yarn over and pull it through. Now insert your hook into the next stitch and yarn over and pull it through. You should now have 3 loops on your hook. Pull the first loop through the last 2 loops. And that's our single crochet decrease. Do that again using the next 2 stitches. Insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over and pull it through. Now insert your hook into the last stitch, yarn over and pull it through, and now pull it through the last 2 loops on your hook. Great job! You should now have 2 stitches, and when you're done, you can chain 1 and turn your work. Now for rows 5, 6, and 7, so 3 rows total, all you're going to do is work 1 single crochet in both stitches. I'm going to speed up through this. Feel free to slow it down below, but I know you got this. Don't forget to keep chaining 1 and turning your work at the end of the rows. And here it is all finished. Now we're going to fasten off. So chain 1, and then cut the yarn, leaving a nice long tail. We're going to use the tail to neaten the edges as well as sew this onto the body. Once you've cut it, pull it through the chain 1 and give it a tug to secure the knot. Great job, everyone. You did it. This is a great resting point. And in the next part, we're going to sew everything together. We're going to begin by sewing the head and body together. So thread the yarn end from the head and let's get started. Position it so that you're holding it with the head on bottom and the back of each facing you. We're going to be sewing into the second rows, so press those together and hold it firmly. We want to line up the seams, all of these little dashes from the slip stitches. Once you're ready, we're going to insert the needle into the body first. So I'm inserting it into the body and I'll go around and out on the other side of this stitch, the stitch right before the seam. Then I'll do the same on the head. I'm going around the seam stitch this time, insert in and bring out on the other side of the stitch, and pull all the way through nice and tight. Then I'll go back into the body in the space where my yarn previously came out of. You can see it just a little bit there, and just bring it out on the other side of the stitch and pull it tightly. And then we'll go back into the head, inserting into the space where the yarn came out of before, go around the 1 stitch and bring it back out and pull it tight. Continue like that all the way around. I'm going to speed this up, but you can slow it down below, and I'll meet you at the end to finish it up. So I'm back at the beginning and I'm going to insert my needle and go past the seam on the head. And then to finish, I'll insert my needle in the body around the seam and the stitches on each side of it. And now I know it's completely attached together. So adorable, great job everyone. Pull the yarn nice and tight and then we'll weave this in and out of the head and body to hide and secure the yarn. So go ahead and do that. Once you've done it a few times, then you can trim the excess and then use your needle or hook to hide the remaining yarn inside the project. Step 1 complete. Great job, everyone. Now we'll sew his snout on, so thread that yarn end. And now we need to position it on the head. Keep the yarn tail on the left side and line the top of the snout up with the line going right between his eyes. Once you're ready, we'll start sewing. Insert your needle in and around one stitch of the head, starting from where your yarn tail is, and we want to follow the curve of the snout. So I'm going diagonally right now. Pull it through nice and tight. Then we're going to insert our needle up into the first stitch of the snout, the one right next to our knot from fastening off. Pull it up and through. Then insert going down into the next stitch and pull it all the way through nice and tight. Now we'll work back into the head. Find where the yarn is coming out of, and we're going to insert the needle into that space and go around the next stitch. Now insert the needle upwards back into the stitch of the snout we previously came out of. Perfect, and then go back down through the next stitch. Easy peasy, back to the head. Find where we previously came out of and insert back into that space. Go around the next stitch and come back out, pulling firmly. And we're still following the curve of the snout, so I'm going straight across. Now back up into the snout where I previously came out of, and back down through the next stitch. And continue like that all the way around. Go around a stitch of the head, go around a stitch of the head following the curve, so my next one was diagonally again, then up through the previous stitch of the snout and down through the next. Keep going and I'll meet you at the end to finish up. I've made it all the way around and I'm going down through the final stitch of the snout now. Once you've finished, then you can insert the needle into a nearby stitch and hide the yarn inside the body. If you have a longer tail than me, then weave it in and out a couple times, then trim the excess and hide the remaining. But so cute. Great job, everyone. Grab the patch for the belly and thread the longer end, and then we'll straighten out the edges of it. You should see a few loops going sideways along the side. We're going to insert into all of those and pull through, but do it gently. Try not to pull the yarn super tight. Then insert into the loop at the bottom from our knot. Then use these corner loops, go down, and then back up through. And now find the sideways loops and even out this side. Adjust the yarn so everything is hugging the edges without pulling or warping the belly. and so that there's no loose parts. And that's it. Now let's sew it on. Position it on the body with your yarn end on the top left side. Make sure it's tucked up right beneath the head and use the snout to help center it. And when you're ready, we'll start sewing. We're going to go down and around a stitch of the body first. Wiggle your hook into a space right below where your end is, right on the edge of where the head and body meet. Then going down, go past the stitch and bring it out on the other side of it, and pull it through nice and tight. Now we'll insert the needle into the belly patch right above where the yarn is coming out, going from behind the belly, and pull that through. Then go back into the body, go down and behind the next stitch, and bring it out on the other side. Then insert into the belly from behind, right above where the yarn is coming out. Perfect, and now go back into the body, this time going into the stitch where we previously came out of, and we want to make it down to the bottom edge of the belly, so I'm going to go past 2 stitches this time and a little diagonally, and then bring it back out and pull it nice and tight. Make sure it's still centered on the body, and you can hide this other end behind the belly, just kind of push it in there. And then bring your needle through the bottom corner of the belly from behind, then through the other corner going down into his body, and we'll make our way back up to the side. So go past a couple stitches following the edge of the belly before bringing your needle back out. Then pull it nice and tight. And then sew the side of it the way that we've been doing, and I'll meet you at the top to finish it. So I'm now at the top and working along the part where the head and body are sewn together. Bring your needle through the top corner of the belly from behind. Then insert your needle into the middle of the top. Take it all the way through the body to the back, and then weave the yarn in and out of the body to hide and secure the yarn. Then you can trim the excess and finish hiding it. We're going to sew the horns on now. They're going to be attached between rounds 2 and 3. So thread the outer yarn tail first, then figure out where to place it, right between rounds 2 and 3 and a bit on the side. Once you're ready, insert your needle into the head right between the rows, going past 1 stitch and pull it through. Then insert your needle into the loop going sideways at the bottom of the horn, going from bottom to top, and pull it through. Then insert your needle back in and around the same stitch of the head and pull it through nice and tight. Now you can thread the other end, and we're going to go in and around the same stitch again. Easy peasy, that's it. Now you can double knot these ends, trim the excess, and hide them away. Repeat that and attach the second ear the same way, making sure it's lined up with the first one, and then I'll meet you for the next part. We're going to sew the ears on basically the same way. We want them positioned between rounds 3 and 4, right behind the horns. Thread the outer yarn tail first, then figure out where you want it. When you're ready, insert your needle in and around one stitch between rounds 3 and 4. Make sure you like it and get your other yarn end out of the way. Then insert your needle going from bottom to top through a loop on the back of the ear, not high up on it, near the bottom and the side. Pull it through nice and tight and check one more time that you're happy with it. Then insert your needle back into and around the same stitch as before and pull that all the way through. Now thread your second end, and when you're ready, insert your needle in and around the same stitch once again and pull it all the way through. Then you can double knot the ends, trim them, and hide them away. Repeat that for your second ear, making sure everything's lined up correctly, and then we'll sew the legs on. Take one of your legs and begin by twisting up your magic ring end, the one coming from inside the leg, and we're going to stuff and hide it inside the leg. Then you can thread the other end and we'll start sewing. Right now the yarn is in the middle of the leg and we want it on the edge. So pinch the sides together and insert your needle into the 2 stitches on the very right. Now we need to figure out where it's going to be positioned. We want to attach them to round 6 of the body, right on the side of the belly. Once you're ready, insert your needle going from right to left through 1 stitch of the body. Pull it all the way through nice and tight. And then insert your needle into the 2 middle stitches of the leg and bring it all the way through. Now insert your needle back into the stitch of the body where it previously came out of. Go behind 1 stitch and come out on the other side. Then insert your needle into the last stitches on the side of the leg and pull it all the way through. Now go back into the body where we had just come out of and go past 2 stitches this time before pulling it all the way through. Then insert the needle into the 2 stitches of the leg that we inserted to at the very beginning and pull through. Now insert your needle and go around the first stitch again, but don't pull it all the way through. Leave a big loop and then insert your needle in there and make a knot. Now you can hide the tail inside the body like normal, like we've been doing. Great job. Repeat all of that and sew your second leg on, and then we'll start sewing the arms. Just like the legs, start by hiding the magic ring end inside the arm. Make sure that the yarn end is positioned on the side of the arm, and then figure out where you want the arm. We want it to be reaching out and above and in line with the leg. Once you're ready, insert your needle into the body and go up and behind the first stitch and pull it through. Then go down through both stitches of the arm and pull it through. Then go back into the body, insert it where we previously came out of, and bring it out on the other side of the stitch. Now go down through the middle stitches of the arm. And then go down through the last stitches on the edge of the arm. Now we'll go back into the body in the same space where we previously came out of, go around 1 stitch and pull it all the way through. And to finish, go back down into the body where we had just inserted and bring it back out a couple stitches down, but in the front of the arm. Insert the needle into the loop on the edge of the arm and we'll make another knot. So pull it through but leave a loop. Insert your needle in there and pull it tight. And now we want to pin the arm down a little bit. So insert your needle back into the body and bring it out a stitch over and in the middle and pull it through. Figure out where that would touch the arm and insert the needle around the stitch of the arm and pull it nice and tight. Great job. Now you can insert the needle back into the body and bring it out in the back and then leave it there. Repeat all of that for your second leg. Sew it on, pin it down, and then bring your end out in the same spot and I'll meet you to finish it. Great job. We're just going to double knot these ends now, trim them, and then hide them away inside. Fantastic job, everyone. Next, we're going to sew the tail on. Start by hiding your magic ring end inside and lightly stuff the tail, and then we'll start sewing. Once you've threaded the yarn, make sure it's positioned on top, and then we'll figure out where to place this. We want this to be in line with the legs, so round 6, and look from all angles to make sure that it's centered in the middle correctly. And then we'll sew this on the same way we sewed the snout. Once you're ready, insert your needle into the body right above where your yarn is, and then bring it out on the other side of the stitch. Then insert your needle up through the first stitch of the tail, and down through the next stitch. Reinsert your needle into the space we just came out of before and bring it out on the other side of the stitch, following the curve of the tail. Then go back up through the stitch of the tail we just came out of and back down through the next one. And just keep going like that all the way around. I'll speed this up and meet you to finish it, but just keep going stitch by stitch, following the curve of the tail. So I'm going back down through the last stitch of the tail now, and then I'm going to go in and out of the body. And now we'll make a knot. Go in and around the next stitch, pull it through but leave a loop, then insert your needle in there and make the knot. Now hide the yarn inside the body like we've been doing, and that's it. So cute. Great job, everyone. We're going to sew the inner wings onto the outer wings now. I sewed my first wing together already. This is how we want to have the pieces arranged. Take note of where all the ends are placed and do the same with yours. Long purple ends on the left and yellow ends on the left. We're going to use these loops to sew the yellow on, so place it in that spot. And then thread the top yellow end, and we're going to pull it through this space right beside the knot on the outer wing. Then thread the other yellow end, and we're going to pull it through the space right below the knot. Great job, and now we're going to thread the long purple end and start sewing. Start by inserting the needle right between the yellow ends and through the purple wing as well, and pull it all the way through. Then insert the needle into the back loop of the first yellow stitch and the front loop of the first purple stitch, and pull it all the way through. Then repeat that all the way across. Back loops of the yellow stitches and front loops of the purple stitches. And now we're going to repeat that on the top. These are the stitches you'll be sewing together, still going through the back loop of the yellow and front loop of the purple. Once you're finished, insert the needle through the back loop of the very first purple stitch and pull it through, and that's it. Repeat all of that for the second wing, and then we'll do the next step. Once you've sewn the wings together, this is how we want them arranged. Yellow ends on the right and long ends on the right. This is how they'll be sewn on, but we need to bring the tail of the right wing over to the other side of it so that we can sew it onto the body. So thread the long end of the right wing, and then we'll weave it to the other side. We want to start by giving this a more rounded edge like the other one. So insert the needle up into the very last loop on top, then insert it back down into the space on the very bottom edge. Pull it nice and tight, and there we go, much better. Now turn the wing over, and we're going to insert the needle down into the loop on the bottom, right above these little upside down V's, and then insert your needle through all of the upside down V's, all the way to the end so that our yarn will come out next to this other yarn end. And there we go. Now we're ready to sew them onto the body. We want them placed right below the head and about a stitch behind the arms. Once you have it positioned, we're going to insert the needle going bottom to top around the first stitch. Then insert it from the back to the front of the wing through the space right by the knot. Then insert your needle into the space on the body we just came out of and go top to bottom around the same stitch. Then go through that same stitch again, going top to bottom, but we're going to pull our other end through it this time. Now you can double knot the ends together, trim them, and hide them away. And there it is. Great job, everyone. We'll deal with these yellow ends soon, but go ahead and sew your other wing on the same way, and then I'll meet you to finish that up. Alrighty, there we go. And now we're gonna bring the yellow ends down like we did with the short purple end before. And then knot them and hide them inside the body. Starting with the purple one, we're going to insert the needle into the V's like we had before, and then inside the body and pull the yarn all the way through everything. If you're struggling like I am, then you can use a glasses cleaning cloth to help you with your grip on the needle. And trim it and tuck it away like normal. Now for these two yellow ends, we're going to hide them underneath the yellow part of the wing. Make a knot with them first. Then insert your needle into the wing and shimmy it into the empty space between the wings and pull them through. Then you can trim them and tuck it back inside that space. And here's the wings, so cute. There's only one more step until we're finished. Grab your yellow yarn and we're going to embroider the little bump on his tail. Insert your needle from the bottom of the tail and bring it back out through the center of our first round. Great job, and now insert your needle 2 rows up directly above it, make sure it's centered correctly, and bring it back out through the center of the first round. And now just keep inserting your needle going away from you, creating these little twisty loops around it. Keep going until you can't fit any more. And then insert your needle back into this space and bring it out at the bottom where the other end is. Trim them, double knot it, and hide it away inside the tail. So adorable. Great job, everyone. And Zuno, the baby dragon, is all done. Thanks so much for joining me to make this. I hope you love yours as much as I love mine, and I'll see you next time. Bye!